one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we'll let the record reflect that Councilmember Walsh is present. All right, we'll jump into the agenda here. Item 2, approval of the minutes of the regular city council meeting from September 9th, 2025, and entertain a motion to approve those minutes.
So moved.
The motion is second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Minutes are approved. Item 3, adoption of the agenda. Are there any changes, corrections, amendments to the agenda? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion to adopt the agenda.
So moved.
The motion is second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We have an agenda. Item 4, consent agenda. I'd entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
The motion is second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right. Item 5, visitors and presentations. Item 5A, Firefighter Appreciation Month Proclamation and Fire Department Biannual Report. So I will get things kicked off, and I want to welcome a lot of our fire department here. A good showing for sure. So thank you for being with us. All right. Without further ado, I will read the proclamation. Whereas Fire Prevention Month is recognized each year in October to raise fire safety awareness, to educate families, students, and communities across the United States. Whereas we remember past firefighters who have lost their lives while serving their communities, to express gratitude to those who have served in this line of work, and to show support and appreciation for those who presently serve. Whereas regardless of the language a firefighter speaks or the country in which he or she works and resides, all firefighters fight against the same enemy, fire. Whereas firefighters follow a long line of tradition and honor that inspires them to help colleagues, neighbors, and strangers alike. Whereas at a moment's notice, firefighters are quick to respond to uncertain situations to mitigate danger and combat the threat of destructive fire in order to protect individuals, families, and the economic well-being of our community. Whereas the demands of firefighting are accompanied by both personal and physical tolls that all firefighters knowingly accept while risking their lives to protect the lives of others. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Dan Lewis-Smith, Mayor of the City of White Bear Lake, Minnesota, do hereby proclaim October of 2025 as Firefighter Appreciation Month and encourage all citizens to show support and appreciation to our firefighters who protect our lives and property so diligently throughout the year, and by remembering past firefighters who have dedicated their lives to preserve our safety. I will pretend to sign it again because I signed it for the picture. But with that, I just want to say thank you to our firefighters, our chief, our department. I think it goes without saying this council has usually been pretty supportive of the department, and I'm confident that we'll continue to do so. So I sincerely thank all of you for the service that you provide for our community, and I think we should stand and give these folks a hand. Very good. And with that, Chief, give us the report.
Thank you, Mayor. They're also here for drill, which works out well that they're here for this and that. So I'm going to let them go back to drill. Yeah, get back to work. So there's not. All right, I will go ahead with my presentation at this time. So I'm going to give some brief updates as to what we've been up to and kind of hit some highlights so far this year. I know you've seen this many times. I just put it up there so the general populace is aware of this, because I've realized even recently that some people don't always know that information. And so please just bear with me. So our department protects the city of White Bear Lake, White Bear Township, Delwood, Birchwood, Gem Lake. It's about 35 square miles, so it's a pretty large service area. And it's about 38,000 population that's here, but obviously there's a lot of people that work in this area and travel through this area, so it's around 40,000 is what we cover. One of the things that is of note so all of you should be aware of, we're running about 9% above last year's run volume right now. So the last 2 years, we've had decreases each year, but this year we're running about 9%, sometimes a little higher than that, sometimes it's been a little lower than that, but I keep a pretty close eye on it. If it is potentially, we'll have another record-setting year. It kind of depends upon how the year ends out here, so we'll see. There are various reasons for that. Part of it is just running on more fire calls. Some of it is running on more EMS calls, and mix that in with some severe weather that we've had this summer, which we get multiple calls whenever an event like that takes place. So we add all those little factors together, and that's kind of where we're at. So I anticipated that it at some point would go back up, and that's what we're seeing now. So luckily we're staffed well to handle that. So it's going all right. So our department staff, again, I haven't really addressed this directly recently, so I just thought I'd remind everybody kind of where we're at now with our staff. So we have 3 chief officers, myself, and 2 assistant chiefs. We have an administrative assistant, 3 full-time captains that are also paramedics that run the 3 full-time shifts. We have 15 full-time firefighter paramedics, and then we're starting on October 6th, we will have 3 full-time firefighter EMTs. We have 1 firefighter EMT right now that's full-time. So we're getting there with our staffing. So the firefighter EMTs are Jeff Ekman, Mindy Feaster, and Jack Cole. All of them were part-time staff, so Jeff is already onboarded earlier this year, and then Mindy and Jack were just made and accepted their job offers recently, so those were a different position for them. And then that will allow us to have 7 people on all 3 of our shifts. So we have A shift, we refer to it as A shift, B shift, and C shift, and they work 24-hour rotating schedules between those 3 shifts. Each one of those shifts will tell you they're the best, all right? So B's is a little easier. They're like, B's the best shift, so they have a lot of fun with it. Go ahead.
How many part-time staff do we have?
So we have, I'll get to it in a second. It's the next slide. So part-time staff, we have 1, Dave Peterson's part-time captain EMT, and then Steve Volber is a part-time lieutenant EMT, and then there's also 6 firefighters after Jack and Mindy are in their new roles, so we have 8 that are left on the part-time side of the department. So it's all good stuff. It allows us a lot of ability to cover calls that was inconsistent before, but now we have a lot more stabilized. We can get to multiple calls at the same time in a timely fashion, so it's working out well. Our rescue swimmers continue to be a successful program. We've had other departments approach us and ask us if they can be part of the training. The next time we put a class on, we'll probably put a class on again next year. Unfortunately, each year we've had to use the rescue swimmers on a real call. We had the drowning that made the news earlier this year, and we used our boat with our rescue swimmers to find the lady that had drowned, and our rescue swimmers went down and grabbed her and brought her up to the surface so we could get her onto a boat and then get her to shore. So it is a well used program. We don't do it a lot, but when we need to do it, having that capability is very, very successful. So we're happy with that program. We plan to continue it. We did have a pretty significant townhouse fire about a month or so ago now. It goes by quickly. This is off of Willow Lane, which is the area is just south of County Road E. This is a picture shortly after arrival, and it is pretty well involved. It's kind of hard to see because of the distance, but that's a 2-story townhouse behind there, and there are 3 townhouses that were all affected by the fire. 2 of them are well involved in fire. And since that time, we believe that the fire, we determined it as accidental. They hired a private firm to confirm that, where they have a lot more technology available to figure out exactly what happened when. And the insurance companies pay for that. There are 4 different insurance companies involved in this. And so once we hear back from them as far as what the dollar loss is going to be on this, it'll be very interesting to find out what that is. Despite all the fire that you see, most of the interior belongings we were able to save. A lot of this fire is on the outside of the building. and it made its way up the outside of the building and extended from one unit to another on the outside. It was fed by 2 natural gas lines that had severed, and so that was why it developed so quickly. And so we got there in a timely fashion, but nonetheless, it was a pretty significant event. Everybody made it out safely, so that was good. And we also were able to get some of their pets out safely, which they always appreciate. We did a Citizens Fire Academy, so the department used to run this for a number of years. And then there was a break from that. We wanted to get it going again this year. And so we had a lot of fun with the students that were there. And we plan to run it again this next year. And so we allow them to do a lot of the things we do. Most of the people on that line, you can see Chief Waylander there, but the rest of them are all citizens that they're in our gear, and they're working the line and learning how to deploy a hose and how to manage a stream and do a lot of things that we do. They also allow them to climb ladders and do extrication and a lot of different things. Chief Waylander, you can see him there in the picture on the right. He created a little dollhouse to train them on fire behavior out of OSB, and you slide the doors and the windows open, and you can watch the smoke and how it reacts to ventilation and no ventilation and so on. So it's very creative. It was a big hit with everybody that went through it, and we had a lot of fun with it. So we'll run it again next April. We're syncing it up with the police department, so we're not crossing over each other. And so they're going to start theirs soon, and we'll start ours up in the spring after they're done. As far as live fire training goes, this is an invitation to all of you. We did live fire training earlier this year. This is down at the Maplewood East Metro Training facility, where it's a concrete building that has panels on it to keep the fire from destroying the concrete. So we're able to light fires in it and run them over and over and over again. This is what all the fire that is there is a bunch of pallets and some hay, and that's what we use for training, cardboard. That's it, but you can see how big that fire got pretty quickly. It's kind of surprising to everybody, and we have a house available to us that we plan to do live fire training in on November 1st. All of you are invited to do it. I know the mayor's interested already. So if anybody wants to do that, please let me know, and we'll bring you in. We will keep you safe, but we will bring you inside. Councilmember Walsh, you went before? I'll do it again. You'll do it again, yeah. So if you want to do that, we sure can. I would encourage you to. It's a good experience to learn. Fire Prevention Week is, again, I don't know if everybody's aware of this, but it's all based on the Great Chicago Fire. That's where it started back in 1871, and it burned for 3 days. There were about 300 people killed during that fire, 17,000 structures, and 100,000 people were without their homes after that fire. I think it's so long ago, we kind of lose sight of that. And so I just bring it up, kind of the history of that to remind everybody. A lot of what was learned, you would say, well, nothing like that's going to happen but then you remember what happened in LA early this year in the firestorm that they had because of how dry it is and the environment they're in down there. So it can happen, but we've come a long way from this fire. A lot of changes in code, building construction, road construction, a lot of things change in a positive manner. So the fire service in general on a national level, we try to keep those themes going and remind the public of different things and try to look forward to what's going on. And so this year I wanted to share something with all of you. This is a video clip from, I believe it was ABC News, and I just took part of it off of their YouTube channel, and so it's not the whole segment, but I wanted to show this to you because this is really hard to explain what happens when lithium-ion batteries catch fire. And so this is testing that the National Institute of Fire Safety put together. So I'm going to play this video. I don't know how well you'll be able to hear the audio, but I'll just play through it. And I want everybody to understand that this is, you know, there are 3 million batteries sold every year, and most of the time there's no issues, right? So they're safe. This is not a, oh my goodness, lithium batteries are bad. I'm not saying that. But we do want everybody to be aware of when they go wrong very, very quickly. And so it's more of an awareness thing. So that's what the theme is for this year, and I'll go ahead and play the video now. Oops, and then I just screwed it up.
Inside this building at the New York City Fire Department's Training Academy. A first-hand look at the jaw-dropping risks associated with a popular product.
We're going to burn this bike inside a building. And
we got an exclusive demonstration of how e-bikes and e-scooters powered by lithium-ion batteries can become infernos in seconds. So this holiday season, the Fire Safety Research Institute is teaming up with the FDNY to show just how dangerous they can be.
Pretty dramatic. I don't know how to explain that other than showing that to you. And so we want to remind everybody, most of the time they're fine. But if you have like bikes, if you have scooters, all those types of things, they really want to charge them outside or at least out in the garage and not in the house, because the bigger the battery pack or the cells are, the more lethal they are. And what it has to do is when they overheat and fail, the gases that are stored inside of them are highly flammable and highly toxic. And so once they ignite, they have what's called thermal runaway. And even though they're all little cells all packed together, one leads to another, leads to another, leads to another, and that's what you saw. So most of the time when it goes wrong, it's a familiar pattern where you see kind of that poof of white smoke that takes off all of a sudden, starts to envelop a space, and then it ignites in fire. And that's what they've seen. New York, the reason they picked New York is they've had so many deaths because they have so many micro mobility devices in the city with how dense it is, that it just, again, it's a percentage game. It's a numbers game of how many are there. So they try to outlaw them from in public housing and high density housing because they've had so many fatalities and so many large fires from that. So this is the theme for this week, is charging to fire safety. And the 3 pointed things that we want everybody to remember is to buy only listed products. So a lot of the products they're having issue from are off-brand, black market type of stuff that people are buying and then using. So that's a big issue. And then charge it only with the device that came with it. That's another thing. People have gotten creative over, well, I can charge it faster if I put the wires this way or put this type of charger on it. And then that creates issues. And then recycle them properly. We have had 2 minor fires because of lithium-ion batteries ourselves. Fortunately, none of them were a big deal, and it was like 1 cell. But we've seen it, just not nearly as dramatic as what you saw on the video. So that is the theme. And the last thing I just want to remind everybody is our open house is coming up on Tuesday, October 7th from 6 to 8 p.m. and it's hard to see the print because I took a picture of the flyer and posted it on here, but all the different things that we're going to be doing are listed there. The usual stuff, we'll have a live fire demo, extrication, the bounce house. We might be able to show some ventilation practice because of the house next door that the city purchased. So we might be able to do some fun things that we don't normally get to do. So I encourage everybody to be out there. So I'll stand for any questions.
Chief, I just have one question. How would you characterize our response times right now? Are they improving? Are they solid? A little feedback on that would be good.
Yeah, so the response times overall are improving slightly because of our availability. Not having crews running from one spot to another constantly are trying to respond from the hospital back to a scene due to the staffing are improving.
Thank you. Council, any questions for the chief? All right. Thank you for the report.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Item 6A, Downtown Special Service District Renewal. Ms. Schimmick.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Mayor, members of council. Tonight, I am here to discuss the Special Service District renewal for the Downtown Service District. This program was initiated in 1992 to create and support the activities of Main Street, which is a program or a nonprofit organization that handles the marketing and promotion of the downtown business district. The assessment is in place to cover the costs of activities that go above and beyond broader municipal services, particularly in regards to marketing and beautification. The organization was formed to coordinate promotion and event efforts for downtown businesses in a time when there was a lot of other retail competition for them, and the downtown area businesses weren't thriving quite as much as they had been. Currently, Main Street uses the funds primarily for marketing and events, and they do plan events year-round to continue to draw customers downtown beyond just the summer season. There was a typo in the memo. It's been renewed 16 times since its initial establishment in 1992, and currently it is set to renew every other year. The assessment amount is determined through a formula that's based on the square footage of commercial properties. It's weighted to factor in the first floor square footage higher than the second floor square footage, to account for the fact that ground level properties tend to attract more consumers and have more consumer-oriented businesses, so it's perceived that they might benefit more from the assessment. The minimum assessment amount is $135 per year with a maximum of $1,600 per year. And annually, that collects about $45,000. This amount remains unchanged, and it's been at this level for a number of years. I don't know the exact date, but I believe since the early 2010s. The property owners were mailed a notice about the public hearing and the proposed assessment amount, and it was also published twice in the White Bear Press. We've not received any comments at this time. I do have Kristen Cranmer, the president of Main Street here, and Sarah Grace, the vice president and incoming president of Main Street, to give an overview of the specific programming and marketing activities that they've been doing and to answer any questions that council may have. And with that, I would recommend that a public hearing be held for the assessment, and upon the public hearing closing, adopting the resolution continuing the assessment for the next 2 years.
Schimmick, if Main Street would like to come up to the podium and share some news, please do.
Hello, Mayor, Council. Thank you for having us tonight. My name is Kristen Cranmer. I'm currently the president of Main Street. I'm also a business general manager here, not an owner in town, but as well I have Sarah.
Hi, I'm Sarah Grace. I own a salon in downtown, and I'm a part of Main Street. I'm a board member and now the vice president.
So Tracy, thank you for sharing the basics about Main Street, and many of you, I think all but maybe one of you, are very familiar with Main Street, but I brought notes to just kind of share the kind of events we do, which you're all familiar with. Market Fest, first and foremost, is a DBA to Main Street, so they are a part of us and a huge celebration of this town and the surrounding areas. It attracts many people. But we do smaller events. Ladies' Nights Out are very popular. Sarah last year kind of spearheaded the new Candy Crawl, which we got a call from fire and police here in White Bear that they want to come and be part of it. So I think that'll be a great collaboration with the city to show when the firefighters and police officers were out for our first gazebo lighting, which was fantastic last year. That was really a big hit. They really liked seeing that the officers and city Mayor Luzmet was also part of that too. So we appreciate that. But just it's a lot of fun to not only, you know, it gets kind of stale when you just expect people to come shop, right? But if you give them something, some activities and some things, a reason to shop or a reason to come downtown and continue the family atmosphere that White Bear Lake has. So, any questions?
Council, any questions for Main Street? Councilmember Edbert.
Thank you, Mayor. Does Main Street maintain any like data points? Like, how do you know that you're being? How do your members tell themselves, "Hey, this is doing good stuff"? What kinds of things do you monitor, pay attention to, even if you don't necessarily count them? What's the markers of success that you think about for the use of these dollars?
Very good question. Thank you. So we do have a monthly meeting, and after events, we do kind of evaluate. We don't keep any written markers, but we do ask businesses how this affects them. Of course, you have businesses that are like, this doesn't help us at all. And you have other businesses that are like, this is fantastic. We love having people downtown. We love the interaction with people, and thanks for giving us a reason to have these special events. So to answer your question directly, we don't have any written or, parameters that we look at from a specific standpoint. It's more just a visual and communication between businesses.
Okay, thank you.
Good? Okay.
Councilmember West.
Thank you. I am maybe the person who's not as familiar with Main Street, so thank you for answering questions. I am curious in how you work with city staff, how you collaborate or what you expect from city staff.
Okay, good question. From my experience, so I've been president for 1 year. I was vice president for a year. I've been on the board for a few years. Tracy is our liaison. So anything we need from the city, she does attend at least every other meeting. And if we need something, we ask Tracy like how we should handle something if it's a new experience, or if there's someone we need to communicate with on something specific. And Market Fest has their own director and their own chair to their committee that does handle that. They handle that themselves, and working with Public Works and those divisions for the most part. And then our city clerk is also an intricate part of making sure if we need a permit, like for instance, we'll use Railroad Park for our pumpkins, our Fall Fest this weekend, and we just make sure we have the correct permits. And I think it's part of our roadmap to each event. We do have kind of a playbook that tells us what we need, what kind of permits and things like that. But we're always happy for you all to come to any event and be part of it. Like I said, the firefighters and police, I'm super excited. We're super excited for them to be part of Candy Crawl this year. It attracted about 250 last year, and that was with minimal communication. This year we're expecting somewhere around 500 kids, so make sure we buy our candy. Did that answer your question well? Do you, I'm not asking you to be like an expert in other cities or anything like that, but I understand that this district was one of the first ones, if not the first one, to be created. Do you know what other cities do as far as kind of the setup? Are we set up the same way as far as like working with city staff and budgeting and what the purpose is? Do you know anything about that? I am not very educated on who. I know we are always rivaling with Stillwater and how we can do things that at least as good, if not better, because it's a bigger footprint down there, right? But I don't have any specific information about what other cities do, no.
Sure. And as far as budget goes, with the rising costs, with everything, I guess I'm a little surprised that there hasn't been an increase in your budget since the early 2010s, whatever that date was,
right.
The last change. Just kind of wondering what your thoughts are about that.
So we try very, very hard to keep our budget minimal because we're in the eye of all of our members, right? And Tracy and I actually talked about it. Actually, you came to a meeting. We kind of talked about, should we increase it this year? And we felt that it was not in our best interest to try to do that with all the rising costs of businesses, right? Here's just another tax. Because some people, that's what some people look at it as, right? Is great, they're raising our taxes again. So we didn't want to be part of that. We wanted to keep things as we could and keep control. And our financial position is well established that we didn't need extra money at this point, so we decided just to keep it the same. So.
Yeah, I guess I think you were the group that suggested that we think about a social district, right? I guess I'm just curious, kind of what your thoughts are for your next steps if you're not like increasing your budget, or like what are your kind of plans around that?
So first, Mayor and Council, I'll apologize. I couldn't make that meeting. We were having our own board meeting that night, so I couldn't get out of it in time. We're still doing some research on the social district. Corey from the Minnesotan is kind of the front runner and wanting to see that happen. We did have a very in-depth meeting with I can't give you his title right now off the top of my head, but the guy who handles it all from the city of Anoka. And it was very interesting information and very well run in Anoka. So I think there just needs to be a little bit more information provided to you all to figure out how that could work in White Bear. And, you know, we're getting no, yes from different community members, right? So that is one of the things we're working on, is still researching and being able to have us present to you more information and more in-depth research on that program. And as it progresses into Stillwater and Shakopee, which I heard has been put on hold, but.
Yeah, I think more information would be really helpful. I'm always thinking about what the kind of workload is for our staff, and in the same as you are, wanting to make sure that our costs are kept down as low as possible. And of course, increased staff time takes more money, and so more staff for something like a social district coming directly from the city would mean all of the city residents would be paying for that, versus like just the city, the people who own the businesses. So
for sure, absolutely.
Thanks
and
so much.
They gave us a very in-depth, some documents to be able to address those issues. But yes, it is fully run, excuse me, in Anoka by their city office staff. So, and I'm not sure exactly what his position, again, Doug is his name, that came to me, but his position I can't give you right this minute. But it is fully run. I mean, they order all the cups, they make sure the licensing is right, all of those things. So yes, there is a weighed burden there, right, on who is going to be able to take that on, and if it's something that they want to. I'm moving at the end of this year, so I won't be here after that to help with that. But I know in my hometown, they started in 2021 in Ohio, and it's been nothing but fantastic. But again, what are the resources that are needed, right? Yeah.
Thank you.
So thank you for your questions.
Well, as long as we broach the subject, how enthusiastic was the Main Street Board about this social district? Is this a couple people that thought it was a good idea and convinced the board to come along? Is everybody head over heels thinking this is a great idea? Help me understand where the Main Street Board is on this.
I think it's a small group that attend every meeting. You know, there's 200 plus businesses and or property owners, and there are 10 or 12 of us at every meeting. And so it's really a hard thing to get a pulse on. After the article came out in the White Bear Press, I was informed that there was a group of people that were all up in arms about, we can't do this to the city and we don't need this. So that's another piece of the research that I would like to do before I'm gone, to just kind of start talking to people more directly, as opposed to expecting them to show up at our meeting, and maybe even have a roundtable type meeting where people can attend, and that is our only agenda item, is to say, hey, help us here. You know, are you for it? Are you against it? Do you just need more information?
So just to drill down on that, when the city council receives a letter from Main Street saying the board has requested the city do this, that doesn't mean the majority of 200 businesses think this is a great idea. This is the few people that showed up at that particular occasion of the board and voted. Okay. Thank you for clarifying that. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. And again, sorry I was not able to attend that meeting.
No problem. Council, any other questions? Ms. Shimon.
Mayor, Council, if I may, because they won't do this themselves, and I think it helps address Councilmember West's comments about cost. The majority of the work that Main Street does is volunteer driven. They do have some support staff that is very minimal and part-time, and they hire some contractors to run social media. But the events and all the programming that they do is generally done by the business owners, their employees, and the property owners, and that they're able to contain costs through that volunteer effort.
Very good. Thank you for being here. Thank you for all that you do to keep the downtown area vibrant and booming. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you all for your time.
All right, we do have to hold a public hearing on this, so at this time I will open up the public hearing specific to this topic. Would anyone like to speak to this? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing and bring it back to the council. Council, we have a resolution before us. I would entertain a motion to approve that resolution.
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion on this? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. The resolution is approved. All right, item 6B, the Birch Lake Improvement District Service Charge Certification. Ms. Kinsvater.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Tonight, I am here for our annual meeting to discuss the Birch Lake Improvement District. The Birch Lake property owners created a petition in 2006 to form the Birch Lake Improvement District. The district's purpose is to develop, finance, and implement activities to improve and protect the quality of Birch Lake. The district held its annual meeting on August 20th, 2025 to approve their 2026 budget. The district is asking the city council to approve a special service charge that is handled like a levy in the amount of $24,231 for certification in 2025, collection in 2026. The annual charge per property in the improvement district is $390.82. The city mailed a public notice to the proposed annual service charge to affected property owners with access to Birch Lake on September 3rd, 2025, and also published the public notice in the White Bear Press on September 10th, 2025. So tonight, the city is going to be hosting a public hearing for the proposed service charge levy. Staff recommends the City Council approve the resolution certifying the service charge once the public hearing is complete. We do have Steve LaLiberty with us tonight. He's with the Birch Lake Improvement District, and he can answer any questions that the City Council or the public might have. So with that, we can have the public hearing.
Thank you, Ms. Kinsvater. I will open up the public hearing at this time. I do have Mr. LaLiberty on my list, so if you'd like to step forward and just state your name and address for the record, that would be great. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Steve LaLiberty. I live at 1387 Highway 96. I've been involved with the Improvement District since its inception. I was the guy that drafted the original documents. I knocked all the doors and got the 35 signatures that we needed. We've gotten our little management of the lake down to a pretty consistent process. We primarily cut the weeds. It's like mowing your backyard. We have to do it once a year. We participate with the VLAMO in terms of projects for dealing with some of the exotic weeds that come in. We run an aerator so the fish don't get killed. We do a fish management plan. And one of the things that we've been able to do is to kind of limit our increases on the levy to about 3% per year. In the beginning, it was a lot more because we decided to own and operate our own harvester. And we got to a point where that got to be a really big burden, and we discovered that if we went out and subcontracted for that service, it was quite a bit less. And so ever since we've done that, we've really been able to control our costs really by leveraging, a company that has an asset that they use all the time, and ours just kind of sat there unused. Any other questions?
Council, any questions? Councilmember Edberg.
Thank you, Mayor. Is Birch Lake experiencing any invasives that, when we get reports, for example, from the White Bear Lake Conservation District, we're hearing about some concerns there. I'm guessing we might have some similar things on Birch Lake, but I don't know what they would be. Do you have any insight?
Yeah, we have two invasives. Curly leaf pondweed was the first one, and now we have milfoil. And one of the advantages Birch Lake has over White Bear is we don't have any hard bottom that the milfoil really loves, and so it really can't get going. So what we end up doing is hand pulling it. So you see a guy out there in a rowboat hand pulling it. It's kind of funny. It's like, wow. But that's the only invasives that we have, and they're not taking over.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. All right, we'll continue with the public hearing. If anyone else would like to speak to this issue, I don't have any other names on my list. Seeing none, I will close the public hearing and bring it back to the council. Council, we have a resolution before us. What would we like to do?
Move to approve.
Second.
I have a motion, a second. Any further discussion on this? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. The resolution passes. All right. 6C, the final assessment roll for the 2025 pavement rehabilitation project. Mr. Coffey.
Mayor, members of the council, thank you. So tonight is the final official step in the 2025 pavement rehabilitation project. The project is complete, just as a quick update. I'll go briefly as I don't see anyone in the audience, but so just to remind everybody, the 2025 pavement rehabilitation project was Division Avenue from 5th Street up to the north corporate limits, as well as 12th Street from Division over to Long. Division was a mill and overlay project. A lot of things that went around there kind of drove that project from the school district as well as the arts area. Lots of houses that were demoed and utilities that were shut off in the street, so warranted that, and it was up for a pavement rehabilitation anyway, so we wanted to wait till all those projects were complete. And then 12th Street is shown in red on the map is one of the streets that we wanted to get urbanized. So after 12th Street is done here, we have just under 4 miles left of the modernization program of turning our rural neighborhoods into curb and gutter, modern street section with storm sewer. So that's brings us just under 4 miles left, and hopefully the next few years will allow us to complete that program. So that's kind of the project overview. Is again, we did some spot repairs on the mill and overlay area, full new curb and gutter and pavement on 12th Street. We did do a sidewalk extension from Division Court up to the Wild Marsh area to connect that neighborhood to the network of sidewalks that the school installed. As well as enhance some of the crossings across Division. Did some storm sewer repairs, added storm sewer for 12th Street. Again, had not had that in the past. We also always go in and do water main repair, sanitary sewer repairs. One thing to note is, as staff had noted before, we had done an extensive lead and review or lead water service review over the last few years that we had to submit to the Department of Health. We excavate and check all of those services, and we did not find any, so we were not required to replace any under this project, so that's good news. Did a few little sanitary sewer manhole repairs this time, and then we also always coordinate with private utilities to make sure that they have their work completed so that we can, so not coming in a year later and tearing things up again for residents. So try to coordinate all that ahead of time so that we can do a comprehensive project. Getting to the assessment, so the total project was about 1.3 million, everything included. Of those assessable costs, based on our the city's assessment policy, we'll be assessing just under $300,000 to those benefiting properties. The assessment period for residential properties is 15 years, 20 for commercial properties. This year, the interest rate is being 2% over the bond rate is 5.71%, just a little bit higher than last year's, which is, I believe, was about 5.4 something. So just a little bit higher, but still not too bad. And assessments would be payable on the 2026 taxes. Just as a reminder, anyone's listening at home, that the payable, if you pay within the first 30 days of the adoption, you'd accrue without interest. So a little benefit if you want to pay up front. Just as a reminder, the last step is holding a public hearing under Statute 429. That's the last step in order for council to adopt the assessment roll. Official notice was sent to all benefited properties as well as noticed in the local paper as required by that statute. Any resident can appeal their assessment by writing a statement submitted tonight by the end of the meeting and filing action at district court within 30 days after the adoption of the assessments. Residents meeting certain requirements can seek a senior deferral by contacting the engineering division. We've not had any so far. We do provide that information within those notices that we send to residents prior to the hearing. Also, I will note that staff has not received any notices of appeal prior to the meeting, so nothing to date. So with that being said, staff would recommend that council hold the public hearing, and then staff would recommend that council adopt the resolution adopting the assessment roll for the 2025 pavement rehabilitation project. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Coffey. Mr. Crawford.
Mr. Coffey, I just wanted to compliment you and your staff on this project. I've said it to the city council, it's a really, really nice road, and that makes me sound like a total dork, and that's okay, but it was very well done. I know our senior engineering technicians put a lot of hours in this summer, very early, very late at night, and it turned out really well, so nice job.
All right, I have one question. It may be for Mr. Coffey, it may be for Ms. Kinsvater. The 2% that we charge over the bond rate, why the difference, the 2% to residents over the bond rate?
That is, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, that is kind of an administrative fee for us for the work that we do to create the assessment and have the records sent to Ramsey County. And that is there's an assessment policy. I can't remember the date. It's an older policy. It was here before I started with the city. And so that's what we've continued to use every year.
Understood, yeah. And I guess what I'm trying to get at and clarify is someone who doesn't know, they see 2%, Jesus, this is a windfall for the city, and it's not. There's a cost to the city with administering this, servicing the debt, all that goes into arranging the financing for a street construction project, and that's what it's addressing, correct?
Correct.
Very good, thank you. Council, any questions for Mr. Coffey? Councilmember Edberg.
Thank you. I'm not sure if this is for Ms. Kinsvater or Mr. Coffey. I haven't done this in a while. So every year we make assumptions about what costs of doing the project are going to be, and then we settle up at the end when we have actual costs and divvy them up among the various properties according to the assessment policy. How do our costs compare to our projections? Are we close? Are we over, under, significantly? What does that look like?
I can answer that. Mayor, members of the council, to answer Councilmember Edberg's question, we have been tracking this data for many, many years. We have fortunately gotten bids from similar or same contractors year in and year out, become very familiar with their bidding practices, and we from an engineering standpoint, we try to be second low bid, meaning we want somebody to be just under us. So we track the costs very well. Work with the finance department to look at all of the other overhead costs that we include in it. You know, we have testing, other fees that we hire an independent appraiser to review our assessments. So things like that we also charge on top of it. So those are kind of the overhead costs that we charge to the project. And we have just years and years of data on that. So we do come in pretty close. And then we look at the final assessment roll and adjust as needed to meet our assessment policy as well as meet the benefit test that our appraiser works with us on.
So what's our track record in terms of we project when we have our meetings with homeowners and service recipients in the spring typically. We award we start the project, we authorize issuance of bids and our proposals and receiving bids. Have we had any situations where our costs came in higher than what we projected, or are the amounts that we assess very close to what we projected?
Mayor, members of the council, the costs that we end up assessing are very close to what we have projected. Like I said, we do our homework. We make sure, if we're we've had a few years where, let's go back to 2020 and COVID and, just materials that we didn't know if we could get and how contractors are going to react to things. We make phone calls. We call the contractors. How are the asphalt prices looking this year? How is concrete? There were material shortages, so we looked ahead. Back in 2020, we said concrete, because of the shipping, was higher. So we estimated higher, just knowing that was a very real possibility, and it came to fruition. So we, hit the mark again. But again, we're typically very close. Since I've been here at the city, we have not missed a bid. I'm not saying in my almost 30 years of doing this, I haven't missed it, but in the last number of years, it's been fairly consistent.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Other questions for Mr. Copy? All right, I will open up the public hearing. I have no names on the list, but if anyone would like to speak to this, going once, going twice, all right, I will close the public hearing. Council, we have a resolution before us. I would entertain a motion to approve the resolution.
So moved.
I have a motion, a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. The resolution is approved. Thank you, Mr. Copy. And you're up again. So 7A, Dog Beach Alternative Location Analysis. Mr. Copy, when you're ready, please fire away.
All right, Mayor, members of the council. So looking back to our March 11th, 2025 meeting, council, after the, much discussion earlier this year on this topic, council did direct staff to look at alternate locations on city-owned parcels that abut water bodies. So staff did that analysis, included in your packet tonight. I'm going to run through just kind of just a brief history. I'm not going to read everything, but just kind of here's where we've been and here's where we're at today, just to refresh everybody's memory. So again, this topic really started back in 2007 when we council revised an ordinance to allow some off-leash dog exercise areas. Lakewood Hills, Varney, and Matoska were those three areas. After that, I think following 2017, there was some, conversation as far as, is this the right thing to do or not? Really boiled up in 2016 and 17, where it was reviewed by the Parks Advisory Commission. Again, in 2018, operations were reviewed, 2021, 22, 23. We can see the history there. So it's kind of like, at times, council, Parks Advisory Commission said to close it. Council kept it open. Parks Advisory said to keep it open. Council wanted to close it. So it's gone back and forth a number of times over the years. Again, continuing into 24, where the commission reviewed the operations, recommended to be open. Council kept it open. 2025. Again, based on the review for the past year, 2024, council elected to leave the Dog Beach open. Two kind of caveats that were added besides the things that have been done in the past. A seasonal CSO patrol was to be added, and that was done throughout the most of the 2025 summer season. As well as council adopted a new maximum leash requirement through city code of 30 feet for the beach. That new signage was put up after the adoption of that leash law change. And then finally, again, at the March 11th meeting this year, council directed staff to look at alternate locations just to see if there were other options out there on lakes, ponds, other water bodies that the city owned. That were adjacent to water bodies. So that's kind of the history back starting in 2007, going through today. So what staff did is looked at did a GIS exercise, looked at the mapping, looked at ownership through the Ramsey County GIS, at who owns what properties. So we kind of sorted through and looked at, I'll call it, viable locations that the city owned, parcels that were adjacent to water bodies. So through that exercise, we found 18 parcels. Again, not just White Bear Lake, but Goose Lake, Birch Lake, some of the ponds that we have in town. And that's within your packet. We included detailed maps, photos of all the locations, and did a comprehensive analysis. We got waders on. We went out in the water. We looked at what the upland areas look like. Is parking available? What's the access to trails? Can we actually do improvements? It's talking to the DNR and what would be allowed to, today, today's day and age, the DNR will not allow us just to go and completely wipe out a shoreline of all its vegetation, both either aquatic or upland vegetation within those buffers. So it's not as easy as it used to be to just go and create a beach. So even the beaches that we have today would be very difficult to create unless they existed in that fashion. There are, obviously, you can do some improvements, but they're limited to, say a property owner wants to put a dock out, they can clear enough area just to put that dock out and park a boat next to it. They can't clear cut the entire width of their property. So we kind of used those tests. We looked at shoreline length of each parcel. We looked at the water depth. So we walked out in waders and we measured depth at each interval. We looked at what the bottom material was. I almost lost lost Nate almost one time. He got stuck in the muck in one pond, and it was close to coming over the top. So I told him to come on in. But again, we looked at shoreline conditions, the upland area, access to the parcel, what are the proximity to trails, parking, what are the proximity to other private properties and docks, ability to monitor. We use the CSO model for the existing location, and how easy is it for us to monitor? Would it be to monitor each of those locations? And I also looked at what each of the anticipated improvements might be for the area. Most of them that we showed on the location, because of the potential permitting nightmare that it might be through the Department of Natural Resources or watershed organizations, we think would be very difficult for the majority of those parcels to ever be improved to the extent that we could have a beach at them. So kind of a summary. I didn't go through every parcel within the memo, but they are the attachment within the packet. There's a giant chart that kind of lists every parcel, lists all of those aspects that we looked at. So really 17 of the 18 parcels that we saw, we don't believe, and most of them are due to mucky bottom, the steep shoreline, just proximity things that we just don't think they're feasible to do enough improvements to actually make them work. Coming back to where we've been in the past, I'll call it Site 8, affectionately known as, I'm going to flip to that slide, but the area that has come up in the past, the area south of the existing Matoska boat launch, highlighted in red there. On the left side of the screen is the map that's included within your packet. Kind of zoomed in on it a little bit just to kind of show a little bit more detail of the area. Again, as pointed out by a number of folks over the years, not just even my tenure, but going back even to 2007 and on forward, this area's been looked at. The Parks Advisory Commission looked at it at least 3 or 4 times since I've been here. Each time, just noting the challenges from as you can see in that table, from a lot of the points, it checks all the boxes. It's got trail access, parking. It's easily accessible, easily monitored easily. You know, it's got a nice sandy beach. It's got, you know, a mowed grass upland. It's got relatively good slopes going into the water. So it checks those boxes that it's a viable location. You know, we wouldn't need extensive physical improvements. We would need to do fencing, buoys, probably a 3-sided buoy, you know, just due to the area. So we included some estimated costs based on what we've spent on the existing location north of the boat launch. However, and Parks Commission and staff keep bringing this up as just the location, and that's why I wanted to kind of highlight on the detail map. It is right in the heart of where a lot of the activities are going. A lot of boats going in and out of, you know, especially on a weekend, going in and out of the loop that boats go to get ready to dock at the launch. It's the traffic in and out of Manitou Island. It's right at the entrance and exits to the boat trailer parking. It's also just even out there, it's a very busy area from people sitting, whether it be in the cars, in the parking lot that, you know, there's just some non-trailer parking. There's people there every single day, you know, just kind of watching the lake, eating lunch, that kind of stuff. A lot of people sit on this shoreline and fish. They sit, you know, bring up their lawn chairs. This is a popular area, as well as up by the where the new little sail or the Speece Landing monument is. So a couple areas that people just like to go and sit and watch the lake. Again, it's a kind of a natural fishing area that folks like to fish on. The depth is adequate there. The one thing that we point out that's different than the existing or the current location is there's no real natural boundary, so it's all got to be fenced in. So that's one hurdle that, again, it's going to be a permitting issue that would have to be brought before the Conservation District that we did even with the other one. We'd have to get the sheriff buoy permit for the buoys out there. And then on the water side, I want to note that, you know, it's obviously a busier area from a boat traffic getting into the launch, getting out to the sailboats. You can see in the picture on the right, that's where we often put the skids as the water levels go in and out. We rent the skids for folks to use the boats to access the sailboat. So a lot of conflicts in that area. So again, staff and the Parks Advisory Commission, you know, recommend against that location. One other entity that we did talk to was Ramsey County. I put a little summary in the in the memo. Basically, the conversations with them are the areas that they have, including the Otter Lake area with their, they have a boat launch there. Asked them what's the feasibility of putting a dog beach or dog swimming area there. Again, the conflicts with the boat launch there. And then just the ability, because they haven't done it and they haven't shown it in their park plans, the areas that they own adjacent to water bodies would be similarly difficult to improve, and their plan right now guides them as keeping those areas natural areas. And there's even some of the areas that they don't allow dogs at all, let alone into the water. So that being said, they don't have any plans in the near future, their current guiding plan to do anything with a dog beach or dog swimming areas. So that being said, the maps, the photos, the table within the packet kind of summarize the staff's findings throughout the summer of 2025, and we'd welcome any council discussion, and staff and the PAC would recommend that the beach stay in its current location.
Thank you, Mr. Coffey. I'm sure some council members will have some thoughts and questions, and I may as well, but at the outset, I just want to thank you for quite a bit of work that went into this. This is pretty detailed, a lot of different locations, a lot of different data points, so I'm glad we have this. I'm glad Nate's okay and made it out of the water. Although I will note that that means that the current operations of a dog beach in White Bear Lake and the research pursuant to that has almost led to a casualty. So I want the council to note that as we continue future operations.
Bit of fire training exercise. Rescue
Those
swimming.
swimmers. So with that, council, do we have any questions for Mr. Coffey on this or comments? Councilmember Walsh.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just on the last discussion on Site 8, as you were talking about the challenges for this site, I was just thinking in my head, well, some of that could be traded because you're not going to add a dog beach, you're going to move a dog beach. If you move from the current site to 8, not everything you said, but many of the things you said could be moved or shifted north to where the current dog beach is. I guess it's more of a cliff. It's not as smooth, so access and certainly sitting and viewing and fishing and even expand the swim dock over there. So I just thought some of the things you said are a trade-off. I think you could utilize that land up north. So that's just a comment I have.
Any other questions, comments from the council?
I have another random question, Mr. Mayor.
Please.
Parcel, let's see, number 9. This is not necessarily related to Dog Beach, but since you've got a map with the things on it, can you get the map of 9 up?
I don't have them all on.
Oh, you didn't put them all on
I
there?
did.
Okay.
I did not load every one of them.
Okay, so this is north of Birch Lake.
Yep.
It's a pretty big piece of land that the city owns. So I got to drive by there. Is it wetland? Is it what is it? And why do we own it? I guess would be my question.
Mayor, members of the council, so kind of the area that we highlighted was the area on the south side of Birch Lake Boulevard. It's a small strip of land that we own that's south of the trail that's immediately adjacent to the lake. So that's what we looked at from a dog beach standpoint. You look at that large area that you talk about to the north is basically a swampy wetland. We own it. I don't know, I'd have to look back at the history on how we acquired it or.
Rotary Nature Preserve.
Yeah, but
is
it's
that
not.
location.
Yeah.
Is that's the Rotary Nature Preserve?
Yep, that we own.
Yeah.
It's a park
So that's
that we
a
own.
preserve.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's.
Okay, I got to look at the map again. Okay.
Yeah, but again, we did not look at it from, I don't know how we acquired it. We'd have to, that's, council would like that information, we can do it.
No.
There's no open water, so we didn't analyze it from a dog beach location standpoint.
Yeah, it's just a random question because it's a big parcel, but.
Yep.
Any other questions, thoughts? Councilmember Edberg.
Thank you, Mayor. So, Mr. Coffey, I just want to express appreciation of the work that you and your colleagues have done. I think you brought good professional acumen to assessing a wide variety. I don't know that we came up with anything particularly new and useful, but good work. It's useful documentation, so thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I wanted to do that too, and you both did. So yeah, it is really good work. It is comprehensive and thorough, and I was really pleased to see actually the minutes from the Parks Commission meeting where a lot of this was already laid out, and then to see this followed up. So yeah, I echo that. Just continuing discussion on the Site 8, do you think one of the issues with the current location is noise and barking? So does moving it, I guess south or down the lake a little bit, is there an assessment of whether that will solve some of that? Is it further away from homes? Does it get closer to other homes? Do we shift that to other homes, or do you think that's enough into the lake so it solves some of the noise problems?
Mayor, members of the council, again, it's got, the existing location has the hillside, shields a majority of that from the adjacent homes.
That's not what the
Obviously, there's a
neighbors
few that are closer. Once you move to move further to the south, obviously, dogs barking are more heard by, it's a flatter area. There's not those natural boundaries to kind of temper that noise, when it does occur. The potential for more dog barking is there's more activity, more distractions. People coming and going, cars, traffic, people loading boats, getting in and out. So, would that spark, where they're at today, there's, relatively interaction. They're kind of by themselves, a few people on the, obviously using the 7th Street swim dock, Y dock occasionally, but the area, that's highlighted here is a pretty busy area. The one thing that came to mind, as you had mentioned earlier, if you look at the area to the left, you mentioned, moving that fishing. You can see how much shallower that sand shelf is to the north. You basically would eliminate fishing. The existing Dog Beach area is too flat, sandy to, people would not fish there. I think it would actually drive them further towards the Manitou Island Bridge, if anything. But it's too, you can see just the water depth in the air photo on the left side of the screen. The lighter is that sand beach that goes out. So you see how far the deep water is to get to it.
Any other thoughts or comments? Well, there's no action item, but the charge to the council is to discuss and provide direction to staff. So I've already said thank you because I think it is a good detailed report. Let me follow up with that by saying I'm not surprised that there aren't any real suitable alternatives, or at least ones that aren't as good from the standpoint of the dogs and the users as its current location. And the reason I say I'm not surprised is because the Park Commission and the then city engineer went through this exercise in 2018 in response to the same complaints. So whether it stays open is not being litigated here tonight, but in terms of providing feedback, now that I think it's pretty clear that there aren't attractive alternatives, at least based on this criteria, I will just say my feedback to staff and for the council to think about is the separate issue is whether or not the new CSO and the leash law has made improvements to alleviate some of the complaints that led to the big discussion and debate. And I think that's for a separate day if the council so chooses to bring it up again. But in fairness to everyone who did have serious concerns and continue to have serious concerns about the current operation, we did implement 2 new tools that was intended to help alleviate that, and it remains to be seen whether or not that's improved or not. So a conversation for another day, but it's nice to check the box that as we're continuing those conversations as a city, there aren't any very clear alternatives, at least based on this research.
So,
Councilmember Walsh.
One more question, sorry. The CSO issue, did we get a report on that was difficult to hire? Last time I talked, I didn't know we actually accomplished that. When did we accomplish it? Did we get a good test, in the summer? Do we need more time next year? Or maybe give us a little update on that.
Sure. Mayor, Councilmember Walsh, the short story is we need another year. Unfortunately, we got started late on that hire, and then the 2 hires did not work out for different reasons. So we need another year. The police department, chief tells me that they spent many hours out there, whether it's educating or citing. I don't have the information. I should have been. Oh, Mr. Poppy.
Yeah, I can give it. So I reached out to the chief, and there was just under 200 documented visits. Not that there weren't additional visits, and then they did do 7 citations since May. That's up through last week. Most of it, like Ms. Crawford said, was really focused in on the education component of it, up front early. And the chief said that as the summer went along, compliance with the dog leash. And as I made it out to the area, definitely saw more and more people with leashes than prior to signing it and the leash law changing. So,
thank you.
Any other feedback for staff? Councilmember Edberg.
Thank you, Mayor. I concur with your assessment on suitability options, et cetera. I think in terms of giving direction to staff, if there are council members that would like us to take up if we take no action, the beach stays where it is and it stays open. If there's a desire for something different, council members need to put that on an agenda whenever, and that's to be scheduled at however we choose to do that. I spent a fair amount of time at the beach this summer. I would say that we did not achieve high levels of compliance with the leash ordinance in the park. Contrast that, high levels of compliance on Lake Avenue in other places in the community. I didn't see any dogs off leash on Lake Avenue, on the trail, et cetera. But compliance was not substantial. I also observed that it is possible for individuals to have their dogs on a 30-foot retractable leash to throw throwable toys. Okay, so there's one dog who has this thing about a fist-sized rock. It sinks to the bottom, and he finds it down on the bottom of the lake. It was rather amazing. And carries a rock and carries it home with him. Anyway, it's possible to do that and have it be done safely with a 30-foot retractable leash. My encouragement would be that we retain that we not change our policy and ordinance with regard to the leashing requirements. I don't think our CSO was effective this year. That option, it got started late. I'm not, for a variety of reasons. I think that is also something, it makes sense to me that we have the entire area along White Bear Lake, that going all the way to Commercial Bay and so forth, coming up, and that there's activity there that is worthy of us having a CSO dedicated to that during the summer. That makes sense to me still. So continuing that and trying that and seeking greater compliance, I think, with the leashing would be is in order. But beyond that, I'll leave it to wherever the rest of the council wants to take that.
Councilmember Edberg, I want to put you on the spot for a second because you deserve credit for, it wasn't a small amount of time that you spent doing your research.
So I spent about 30 hours sitting by the lake this summer. It was not onerous. A couple of days when it got a little windy and a little rainy. Other than that, that was the worst. And I have captured data by 15-minute increments over all of those hours. I've tracked the incidence of 1 barks, 2 barks, 3+ barks. I tracked leash compliance, the number of people, the number of groups, the number of people, the number of dogs at one time. I've got that data. I didn't synthesize it for this meeting. I'd be willing to do that if this is scheduled in the future. I'd be happy to share that data. So, is that what you were referring to, Ms. Crawford?
Yes, and to say that he then could go in waders too sometime. No,
no, I'm like Nate. I'm not confident that Mr. Cowpy would retrieve me. So.
Retrieve you.
Councilmember Walsh.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Now that we've morphed a little bit off topic, but the CSO issue, I just want to say it on the record, and I think it's a subject for future consideration, research, possibly legislative agenda. The bikes, e-bikes, motorbikes, mini bikes, whatever they are, on the path, super fast. I can't believe we haven't had an accident yet. Maybe we haven't. I haven't heard about it. They're going by my place and Boatworks really fast. And I understand there's a limit on what we can do and enforce in terms of the type of vehicle on the path, but might be a legislative initiative to get some help. We can't be the only ones experiencing this, but the speed, I mean, the e-bikes without pedaling, and then you pedal and you boost them, you can really get some speed going, and they're so quiet. It's just they come whizzing by you. So I don't want to sound like an old crank, but and I'm reflecting people calling me too and talking to me about it too. It's not, I've experienced it myself, but also I've gotten some calls and questions on it. So I think that's a topic. The CSOs, obviously, if we get some force out there and some behavior modifications, some hey, slow down, or you can't have that on this path, go home. That'd be great.
Councilmember Walsh, I don't think you're an old crank, because I have the same concern, and I'm much, much younger than you are. Yes. So, but
Are we talking about age or crankedness?
Yeah.
either way. But you do raise a good point, and without getting too far off topic, I do think that is a legislative agenda item and topic. I compare this to, I don't know when it was, it probably was before I was born, but when mopeds and things like that, and you started having those little pop can motors that you could put on a bike, and the little pedal bikes got faster and faster, that's
I had one of those.
when moped regulations started happening, and is it 49 cc's or below, and what that looks like. The e-bike technology is such that they're fast. I mean, they just are. You can make the argument that they're more dangerous because it's electric and it's instant torque, and you're just going to speed really, really quick. And I too have received comments and complaints, and it is a concern. And we do want the walking path in particular, the whole city, but along Lake Ave to be family friendly, and people with strollers shouldn't have to worry about a electric bike going 25 plus miles an hour, which is significant. So I do think that is something we should take up. So getting back to the topic at hand, I think I would like to see just a show of hands, kind of a straw poll, whether or not the council would like to get some feedback from police, public works, the various city departments that monitor and touch the dog beach, to see if the implementations, what the actual report is by way of the CSO. There's 7 citations that were given out. I mean, it's a touch point. I'm not saying we need to formally bring it back for, are we going to keep the dog beach open? But we did commission staff to bring us alternatives. I think an update on whether or not the action of the council by way of trying to improve things, a report on that would be helpful. But I'll defer to the council whether they want to see something like that.
I'd be more inclined to say in the normal course of reports from the normal agencies, police mainly, probably citation levels, add that to the report when you come. They're here quarterly or twice a year. That's kind of how that's all I would need. I don't need extra work or a special thing on this.
Mayor, Councilmember Walsh, if it helps, Chief Hager's biannual report will be at our next meeting.
Great. That would be another data point as the conversation continues on the council regarding this issue. Okay, any final thoughts on this? All right, thank you, Mr. Copy. Appreciate all the work. All right, item 8, new business, we have nothing scheduled. 9, discussion, nothing scheduled. Item 10, communications from the city manager, Ms. Crawford.
Thank you, Mayor. Members of the council, our fall edition of the newsletter is out. Everyone should have received that. I don't have a copy here, but it's another great edition. Lots of really, really good information in there, so please check it out. And thank you, as always, to the city clerk for coordinating that and working with our staff to get articles. It's homecoming week in White Bear Lake, so we have a very big homecoming football game this Friday against Forest Lake. Oops, sorry about that. I just wanted to note that the police department will have increased their security by a significant amount of officers that will be there at the game that evening. I'm confident that they will have it all under control if there are any concerns from the community about that. And then also they will be posting where no parking is not allowed. So everyone who's watching or not watching should follow that, or they will risk being ticketed. And I know we have been very active on writing parking citations this year, so which I am appreciative of. And then lastly, just a reminder to the council, I will be out of the office after this meeting and returning October 6th. And that's what I have. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Ms. Crawford. All right, item 11, we're going to enter a closed session to develop an offer regarding the real property located at 1328 Highway 96. So as I read some pro forma language, those in the audience can make their way out before we officially go into closed session. We now need to go into a closed session pursuant to Minnesota statute section 13D.05 subdivision 3C3, which authorizes the council to develop or consider offers or counteroffers for the purchase or sale of real or personal property. The address of the real property under discussion is 1328 Highway 96. Therefore, I request a motion to go into closed session pursuant to Minnesota statute section 13D.05 subdivision 3C3 to discuss the above described matters. Would anyone like to make that motion? A motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? We are now in closed session.